Good morning, students. In this class today, we'll discuss P.B. Shelley's poem Ozymandias of Egypt. First, we'll just discuss what is presented in the poem, and then we'll try to analyze the main idea there in the poem. So, how does the poem begin? The poem, at the very beginning of the poem, the poet says that he has met a speaker who has come from a very antique land. Antique, spelling A-N-T-I-Q-U-E. Antique means very old, ancient. So the speaker says, I met a traveler from an antique land who said. So the speaker has met a traveler who has come from an antique land. Antique land means, normally it can mean, antique means old, very old land. It means a land, a place, an area, and a region which has an ancient history. So the traveler has come from a place which has an ancient history, and what comes next in the poem is actually spoken by that traveler. Now the traveler is telling everything to the poet. What is the traveler telling to the poet? The traveler says that two vast and trunkless legs of stone stand in the desert. So two vast means very big, trunkless means without trunk, means trunk refers to the portion of human body above the waist. So what we normally call our torso, T-O-R-S-O. So two legs only, without the upper portion of the body, made of stone, stand in the desert. That means the traveler actually is referring to two legs of a huge statue made of stone. And where is the statue? Where are the two legs of the statue standing? They're standing on in the desert, in an area where there is desert, where there is sand everywhere. So only the two legs of the statue standing on the desert, and near them, near the two legs on the sand, half sunk, a shattered visage lies. So near the two legs of the statue on the sand, a shattered means broken, visage, V-I-S-A-G, visage means our face. So the face of the statue in a broken condition lying on the sand near the two legs of the statue. So the poet, the traveler, is actually describing a broken statue to the poet. Only two things of the statue can be seen right now. Which are they? The two trunkless legs of stone, huge legs, and only the face of the statue lying near the two legs on the sand, half sunk on the sand. That means half of the face is covered by the sand there. Now whose statue actually the traveler is talking about? The traveler here describes the statue, the broken statue of an ancient Egyptian ruler called Ramses II. Ramses, R-A-M-E-S-S-E-S. Ramses II was the ruler, and he was a pharaoh. What is a pharaoh? Pharaoh spelling P-H-A-R-O-A-H. Pharaohs are ancient Egyptian kings, ancient Egyptian rulers. So Ramses II was a pharaoh of Egypt, and he ordered a huge statue of himself to be built. And the traveler now describes that only the two legs and the face of the statue in a broken condition can be seen there. The statue was very huge, but it has, because of the passing of time, in due course of time, it has ultimately decayed. It has ultimately got broken. and only the two legs of the statue and the face is lying on the sand. So the name of the poem is Ozymandias. Actually, Ozymandias was the Greek name for Ramses II. So the Egyptian name is Ramses II, but the Greek name, the Greeks used to call him Ozymandias. So that is why P.B. Shelley has given this title to this poem, Ozymandias of Egypt. So what is the setting of the poem? Egypt. So that is why we have sand there, and Ozymandias means Ramses II. So the traveler is actually describing this huge statue constructed by the king, the pharaoh Ramses II of himself. Although it was a very huge statue, but the traveler has seen now that only the two legs are standing there, the torso is missing, and of the upper portion of the body only the face of the statue can be seen lying on the sand, half sunk, half covered by the sand. Then the traveler goes on to describe the expression on the face of the statue. Although the face lies there in a very broken condition, the traveler says that an expression of anger, an expression of pride, an expression of command, an expression of dominance can be still seen on the face of the statue. So these expressions, dominance, anger, pride, command, power, can still be seen on the face of the statue. So that means, whose statue is this? This is the statue of King Ramses II. So ultimately what it means, that the king was himself maybe of this nature. He was also perhaps a very proud king. He was also a very powerful king. He was very proud of his power. So he was always dominant. And the speaker, the traveler, says that the sculptor of this statue, the person who has designed this statue, the sculptor, S-C-U-L-P-T-U-R, the sculptor perhaps himself very well understood the temperament of the king. The sculptor himself perhaps very well knew what was the nature of the person whose statue was it going to be. The sculptor very well knew the nature of anger, the nature of pride, the nature of dominance, the nature of controlling others of the king, and that is why he very well reflected those expression of the king, that nature of the king on the face of the statue itself. So the speaker says that the sculptor very well understood those feelings, that nature, those temperaments, and therefore he has designed the face of the statue with wrinkled lips and sneer of cold command. So the lips of the statue are wrinkled. What is wrinkled? When you put your clothes in very warm water, some kind of clothes can get wrinkled. So the lips on the face of the statue, the lips are designed as wrinkled, and an expression of cold command, an expression of dominance can still be seen on the face of the statue. And the credit goes to the sculptor. The credit goes to the sculptor because the sculptor very well understood the nature of the king, and therefore he very well could replicate those emotions of the king on the face of the statue itself. So although the face of the statue is lying on the sand in a broken condition, those expression, that nature of pride, anger, dominance can still be seen. That nature of the king is still visible on the face of the statue. So those expressions yet survive, yet can be seen on these lifeless things. And the hand that mocked them, the heart fed. So the the hands who has designed the statue, that person who has designed the statue, he very well understood those feelings, and the heart who enjoyed those feelings, whose heart? The king's heart enjoyed those feelings very well. So both yet live, both yet survive on these lifeless things. So the capacity of the sculptor to design a very beautiful face with proper expression of the person, that can also be seen on the face of the statue. And from the face of the statue, from the expression presented on the face of the statue, we can also understood the heart of the person itself. Whose heart? The king's heart. What kind of a person the king was, what kind of a person Ramses II was. So the expression presented on the face of the statue very well shows that the king was a very proud king. He was very proud of his power. He was very dominant, and these expressions, these things are still visible very well on the face of the statue, which is lying on the sand. And on the pedestal, these words appear. Now, what is pedestal? Pedestal is that portion at the bottom of a statue where the name of the person, name of the statue is written. So pedestal, Pedestal. Now, what is written on the pedestal of the statue? So below the two legs, at the bottom of the statue, at the pedestal, what is written? It is written. Now we have to again remember who is speaking all these things? The traveler. And he is speaking all these things, he is telling all these things to whom? To the poet. What is there written on the pedestal of the statue? It is written, my name is Ozymandias. So the statue is there, and at the bottom of the statue, what is written? My name is Ozymandias, King of Kings. So Ozymandias himself, as if describing himself as the King of Kings. So he is not only a king, you have to remember, he is the King of Kings. That means he is the most powerful of all kings. That is how he wanted to present himself to the whole world. That is why he ordered that a huge statue of himself should be built, and a proper expression of his dominance, his pride, his anger, his control over everybody should be presented on the face of the statue. And that those feelings, those emotions are very well copied by the sculptor. So actually everything perhaps was ordered by the king himself, that the face of the statue should have this kind of an expression. So on the pedestal these words appear, my name is Ozymandias, King of Kings. Look at my works, ye mighty, and aspire. So it is written there, look at my works. So whoever is going to be in front of the statue, whoever is going to be in front of the statue reading what is written on the pedestal, so perhaps this sentence is presented in such a manner as if the king is speaking to the onlooker who is there in front of him, as if the king is saying, look at my works, look what kind of huge works I have done. What is the proof of the huge works I have done? The statue itself. The hugeness, the vastness of the size of the statue itself is a proof of my power. What kind of huge things I have done. So as if the king himself, Ozymandias himself, is speaking to the person who is there in front of him, in front of the statue. So the statue itself perhaps is saying, that is how the pedestal, the words are presented on the pedestal, that look at my works, ye mighty. What is ye mighty? Mighty means other great rulers. So as if Ozymandias is speaking to the other great rulers. So see, look at my works, you great rulers, and compare yourself with me. And when you will compare yourself with me, when you will understand the kind of power I had, what the kind of huge works, great things I have done, then you will be very sad. Why? then you will understand how small you are in front of me. So, whoever is going to be in front of the statue, not because the statue itself is huge physically, the other person in front of the statue will look smaller than the statue itself. That is one kind of a comparison. But what the two lines presented on the pedestal is suggesting, these lines are giving a different suggestion. It says physically the onlooker will look smaller, but mentally the onlooker, whoever is going to be in front of the statue, mentally the person will be very sad, because the moment the person will understand what kind of a great king Ramses II is, the other person will become very sad, because through a mental comparison, the other person will understand how small, both mentally and physically, the other person is in front of the huge statue. In front of whose statue? Ozymandias, King Ramses II. So these words appear on the pedestal, and the last three lines of the poem are very important. What the speaker is telling to the poet, that nothing beside remain, except these things there, nothing else remain. Round the decay. What is the decay here? Decay means something which is dying, which is destroyed. So what is dying, what is destroyed there? The statue itself. So decay here refers to the statue itself. So around the decay, around the broken statue, there is nothing else of the colossal wreck. Colossal means very huge. Colossal, C-O-L-O-S-S-A-L, colossal. Wreck, W-R-E-C-K. Wreck means something which is in a very broken condition, which is almost going to be destroyed in a wreck. So what is the colossal wreck here? The statue itself is colossal wreck here. So around the decaying colossal wreck, around the broken statue of only the two legs and the face is there, around it there is nothing. Boundless and bare, the lone and level sand stretch far away. So around this broken things, broken statue, far away, what can only be seen? Lone and level sand. Only sand can only be seen around the broken statue. So again we have to remember that what is the purpose for which Ramses II or Ozymandias ordered that this statue should be built. What was his intention? Perhaps the intention of the king was to immortalize his power. Perhaps the king wanted that the future generation should know about his power, his might, how great he has been. The future generation will come to know through the hugeness of the statue. And that is why he perhaps ordered the sculptor to design the statue in a particular way. The size of the statue, the expression on the face of the statue, perhaps actually ordered by the king himself. What was the intention? Again I am saying, perhaps he wanted to immortalize his power, his pride, how great he has been. He wanted that the future generation would always come to know about this. But has he been successful in his attempt? Perhaps no, because the statue lies there in a very broken condition. Where does the face of the statue lie? The face of the statue lie on the sand. Only the two legs of the statue is standing there. So what P.B. Shelley, the poet, is trying to suggest, that Ozymandias has not been successful in his attempt to immortalize himself through this material power, material glory. Through this material glory. What is the material glory here? The statue itself. Through Ozymandias has not been able to immortalize himself. His attempt to immortalize himself has failed. The condition of the statue itself is the proof of it. The broken condition of the statue itself is proving that his attempt to immortalize his power himself has failed very badly, because as time passed, time destroys everything. All material pride, all material glory will one day succumb to time, will always be destroyed by time. So, in other words, that now we come to the main idea of the poem. What is the main idea of the poem presented here? The main idea of the poem is that however human beings try to immortalize their material pride, material glory, material power, all their attempt to immortalize material pride, material glory, material power will always fail, as the example of Ozymandias statue shows it. Now the question is, if this is not the way to immortalize oneself, how can one try? How can one be successful in his attempt to immortalize himself? Normally this question comes. If Ozymandias has failed, if Ozymandias' attempt has been a wrong one, then which will be a right one, right attempt if one tries to immortalize himself? P.B. Shelley is himself presenting an example of it. So this is the poem written by whom? P.B. Shelley. So P.B. Shelley has not constructed a huge statue. He has written only a poem of 14 lines. But still, after hundreds of years of his death, people are still reading his poem. And maybe in future generations, till several thousands of years, maybe people still would be reading his poem. So perhaps the poet P.B. Shelley is giving us a hint. So what can be done to leave a mark on this world, to immortalize himself? What can actually be done? So instead of taking pride on material power, material glory, the way Ozymandias has done, perhaps it's better to choose the way taken by P.B. Shelley, that is through writing poem, through art and culture. Perhaps one can immortalize himself. Again, if we go back to the lines of the poem, I've already said this poem consists of only 14 lines, and look how beautifully P.B. Shelley has designed the poem. So, I have already said, on the pedestal of the statue, which words appear? The words on the pedestal says, "My name is Ozymandias, King of Kings. Look at my works, ye mighty, and aspire." So these words appear at the pedestal of the statue. Similarly, in the poem also, these words appear towards the bottom of the poem. The way these words appear on the pedestal of the statue, in the same way these two lines appear almost at the bottom of the poem, the way the poem is presented on the page. If you read this poem, you will see that these two lines appear almost towards the bottom of the poem. So Ozymandias of Egypt, if in a nutshell, if we have to present a brief summary of the poem, what we can say, that King Ramses II of Egypt, who was also known as Ozymandias by the Greeks, he ordered that a huge statue of himself should be built, so that future generations should come to know about his power, his might, his dominance. And the sculptor who was given this order, he also very successfully designed the statue. He built a huge statue of the king. He also very well reflected the temperament, the emotions of the king on the face of the statue. So the statue was very well designed by both the sculptor and the king. The king gave the order. The sculptor very well understood the emotions, the character, the temperament of the king. Therefore, the sculptor very well could reflect those emotions, those feelings on the face of the statue. But after years have passed, the statue ultimately has to surrender to the attack of time. Because of the passing of the time, now the statue is almost destroyed. Only the two legs, or the huge legs of the statue, is standing, and near the two legs only the face of the statue is lying, half sunk, half covered by the sand near the two legs. And on the pedestal, what is written? My name is Ozymandias, King of Kings. Look at my works, ye mighty, and aspire. So through these two lines, Ozymandias, or the King Ramses II, wanted that the future generation will always compare themselves. The future generation of people will always compare themselves with Ozymandias, and then they will come to know how small they are in front of the statue, in front of the character of the Ozymandias. But his attempt has failed. The statue has been destroyed by time, and only around the statue, far away, only an area of a lone and level sand can be seen around the statue. And through this poem, Shelley is talking about the futility, futility, futility means failure, futility of human efforts to immortalize their power, their material power, material glory, material pride can never be immortalized. This is the message given by P.B. Shelley in this poem. Thank you for listening.